I totally get it, okay? This is a topic that's taboo, embarrassing, private, behind closed doors. You don't even want to approach your lover with 100,000 foot pole with this topic. But let's address the elephant in the room. Why does anal sex feel so good? And today we're going to talk about just that. Hi there, I'm Dr. Chung and I'm your friendly proctologist, and I'm always here to give you helpful information to help you live healthier lives. So check out the information down below in the description box. A lot of good info about my sponsors to how to increase your anal health. Also, how to get in touch with me for video consultation if you are long distance from my office. And let's get on with the video topic for today. So first thing, when I say anal sex, I really mean anal play at large, because it doesn't necessarily need to be with a penis. It could be a finger, a sex toy, a tongue. It could also be an Aunt Jemima maple syrup bottle, a candle, a lighter. I mean, if your imagination can think of it, someone has already been there. So you gotta wonder who is doing this behavior. And this might be surprising to you because a survey reported up to 40% of women and up to 45% of all men have engaged in this behavior. Comment down below if that surprised you. I mean, is anal sex super trendy now or what, right? A long time ago, it's considered so taboo. I'm sure people lied when they were being surveyed about it, but now it's such a public thing that we should definitely know a lot about it. And especially me as a health professional, yeah, I can say this stuff with a straight face because I need to learn about it. I need to know what people are doing in order to figure out what exactly could be changed, right? To help people with their health. When we're talking about anal play, we should never take for granted and always protect our hemorrhoids. And that's why I'm pleased to bring you the sponsor of today's video, which is Vessol. I've been taking this 4-ingredient formula for 2 months now, and the results are awesome. Okay, less bleeding, less swelling. That feeling like things are falling or sliding out has disappeared from me, okay? Bowel movements have been a dream. And these ingredients are all clinical study based. Definitely learn more at vessolhealth.com. Their ingredients are proven to have less and more anti-inflammatory power in it, and also tighten up the blood vessels to really give you the relief in your hemorrhoids. Thank you so much, Vessol. So to understand why we get pleasure, we need to understand how we are wired at birth, or our anatomy. There are nerves that come from our spine and our back and then spin out these webs of entangled threads called nerves, okay? They join, they separate, they dive deep into our pelvis, and they're called a bunch of names which I won't bore you with, but these nerves then end up in our genitalia. And gosh, the functions are so amazing. There's so many, and they all work together. Because from something to go, like when someone has sex, we have our stimulation, we have our sexual function, our erection, body parts start swelling, you have muscle contraction, and then you have the orgasm, which is also hormonal and neurotransmitter driven. Isn't that amazing, guys? And so this complex system of these nerves shooting through and feeding back into our brains is what brings us the pleasure. So I hope that was an anatomy lesson that didn't bore you to heck. But that is how complicated and how amazing our bodies are. So in men who have anal receptive sex, why do we get so much pleasure from it? Well, again, the nerves and the skin around the anus, just at the outside of the anus, those are super sensitive. We have an area of our brain that's highly dedicated to this area of our body. So we can notice even the lightest feathery touch. And then we have the sensory inside of our anus as well. And in particular, the prostate can give the man an orgasm, right? Called the male G-spot. Yes, that is a real thing. And some men, when they're stimulated there, whether it's a finger, vibrator, or a penis, can have ejaculation. It can be so stimulating, in fact, that men definitely can prefer it to having intercourse themselves. And at the same time, there are men who like to double dip. They will have penetrative sex with their penis and then also have anal play receptive in their anus. And they find that the orgasm is way more intense. They feel a lot more in their penis as well too, and can give them an orgasm that essentially blasts them off Earth and lands in Saturn, okay? And that's a real thing. For women, there's some commonality in the sensitivity of the anus skin and also the anal canal. But what's different is stimulation of the G-spot from the behind area. So depending on the direction of penetration, some women can achieve orgasm with stimulation of the G-spot or the clitoris itself. The role of the pelvic floor in women is also important because the contractions can bring more blood flow and that can bring more sensitivity to the area. Also, the pudendal nerve is routed in such a way that it brings more sensation from the anus than one may also think. And so while all these physical sensations are happening for men and for women, this message is now being transmitted up to the brain through our spinal cord, and more higher processing is done, right? We have emotional content, we have decision making, contextual, we have desires, all the decisions that are going on in our head and our thoughts and minds. And that's what leads us to climax through the anus. So it has a lot of commonality with the front part, the traditional way of having sex, but this can bring another value of exploration for so many people. And it totally makes sense why people are getting into it nowadays. So the purpose of this video is not to convince everyone to start having anal sex, okay? But if you're going to engage in it, how do we learn about it and how do we do it safely? And let me discuss a few ways how. The first thing is communication and consent, okay? Sex is supposed to be a spontaneous thing. Things happen because, well, you get swung up in the moment, right? So you want to be prepared with your partner. Figure out some ground rules, safe words, etc. And lubrication is going to be super important. A water-based lube is probably the easiest thing, and frequently reapply. An important thing to know about the anus is, yes, there is some mucus production, but it is nowhere near enough or comparative to the vagina, right? The lubrication in the vagina is a lot more, so lubrication and re-lubrication is extremely important. The other thing is you want to go slowly, okay? Start with small anal toys first, okay? The first time, sorry guys, or people who are using dildos, right? Don't go full send. Use a small toy, use a small finger first, and that's probably all that you're going to be able to get out of it. You want it to be a pleasurable experience for everyone involved. Finally, when you move up to larger and wider objects, you still want to keep going slowly. The progression should be slow because the body parts inside our anus are very fragile. Hemorrhoids can get bruised up and start bleeding. Anal fissures are extremely painful and create a ripping sensation. So if you create a fissure, well, guess what? You're probably not going to do anal play for a while. Also, anal spasm can definitely result from a bad experience in the bedroom, okay? Because when the anus senses that something bad has happened, guess what? Its reflex is to shut down the door and say, nuh-uh, we're not doing that ever again. And it can be a big setback in your sex lives where you may never want to experiment with that again. And so I hope at this point in the video, you've become a bit more comfortable with the idea of anal sex. And I hope that it augments your sex life with your partner to be able to be more comfortable and open to talk about it. And again, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the sponsor of this video, which is Vessol. These guys are the best at providing relief for your hemorrhoids because they do the work from the inside. You've already got lube from anal sex. What you really need to keep your hemorrhoids and your anus in check is the anti-inflammatory agents and also the vein tightening components here. All natural. Thank you again, Vessol. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.